Hi guys, this is blog number 5. Today is actually Gandhiji's birthday, 2nd of October. So I'm kind of dedicating to this, hence the kurta. I actually spent some time volunteering out at Manav Sadhana, which is an NGO based at the Gandhi Sabarmati Ashram in Ahmedabad. That was like, 6 years ago. And when I reflect upon my life, I can see some of those things popping up. And a lot of people ask me, what's your experience been volunteering, and ask me for advice as to where should I go, how to do it. So this blog post is out to you guys. But before I start, I just wanted to share something that I've been experiencing after having been in London for about 2 months now. Is that people seem so disconnected. You see people on the tube, everyone's got their earphones in and they're doing their own thing. Or if it's at work, people are literally their head down. People don't really seem to have time to talk to each other. Um, it's kind of bizarre because we have more technology than any other generation in history, and yet all these productivity tools are not finding out. We're not finding ourselves with more time, which is a bizarre conundrum. Because you'd think that with so much efficiency, having your emails in your pocket or having Outlook that can manage your entire calendar, or being able to video FaceTime people, you'd think there'd be a lot more efficiency and hence more free time. But I'm finding that people seem to be even more busier and less connected. So the irony is that even with Facebook having more than 1 billion people connected, we are actually living in a generation where people feel more disconnected to themselves than ever before. Um, I feel like I'm going through a bit of a roller coaster at times when you just crave even when I worked in places like Cumbria or up north, people like say hello to you and you're walking past them in the corridors, and there's a general sense of relaxedness and connectedness, which I'm not finding as something that's so obvious in the corporate consulting world. How is all this connected to Gandhiji, you may be wondering? Well, I wanted to just profile an individual, Jayesh Bhai. So Jayesh Bhai is one of the founders of Manav Sadhana, along with Viren Bhai, who's another incredible human being. Um, and these guys set up Manav Sadhana. Jayesh Bhai, his wife Anarben, and Viren Bhai, in 1993, set up an organization at the Sabarmati Ashram to really just serve, with no real big agenda, no task list, no project plan, no strategy. They just saw a need. And Jayesh Bhai's father was actually a disciple of Gandhiji, Ishwar Dada, and he actually committed 60 years of his life to set up something called the Environmental Sanitation Institute and really raise awareness of raising the bar when it comes to hygiene, when it comes to cleanliness, when it comes to upliftment of the poor, by actually going out into villages and connecting. But coming back to Jayesh Bhai, so Jayesh Bhai as an individual, he has an incredible humility with the way his approach to service is. There's a few analogies that come to mind. So, when you think about giving, people tend to think, he used the analogy of that when people start giving from up above, giving money, giving their time with a sense of ego, and the person receiving is down there, he's left with dependency. And the Manav Sadhana approach is actually more about extending your hand out, saying, we are equal, we are family, we are connected. How can we help each other? One of my biggest lessons in going to India to serve for, I guess 18 months or so is that what you get when you try to give is way more than what you possibly can contribute. The kind of lessons, the experiences, the joy, the satisfaction I received from doing very simple things is a stark difference. So Jayesh Bhai uses an example of, when you are acting, when your head, your heart, and your hands are coherent with a higher purpose of something beyond yourself, that's when your spirit really awakens. When you can connect to something of purpose by that I mean when you're applying your mind with something you feel emotionally connected to, and you're doing something active, that's the best place to be. And my own practical experience, says that when you're doing work, for example, even in a consulting space, when you're working out in a project environment and you're loving what you're doing, you're connecting to people, and you start seeing the differences you're making. it's a really rewarding place to be. And I guess my question to you guys is, if there's areas that are working for you, do you have that consistency between head, hand, and heart, or coherence? Um, and areas that aren't working, one of those is probably out of sync. So it's worth reflecting on that. Another thing Jayeshbhai talks about is this concept of being a ladder, um, rather than a leader. So rather than focusing on the leader role of having the ego, the person who's in charge, be like a ladder so that other people can get up as a result of you doing your work or doing your service, which I think is really powerful. Which reminds me to mention what Manav Sadhana actually stands for. So the word, the organization Manav Sadhana, you'll see a link down there if you want to go and explore the history and the details. But the word Manav means humanity, and Sadhana means a dedicated service. So Manav Sadhana is a service to humanity, and there's something very subtle that takes a while to understand. But going out to serve humanity is actually a access to personal transformation. So you're actually, through the act of serving other people, you actually learn a lot about yourself, and you become connected to who you really are. And these questions repeatedly keep coming up of who am I, what am I, why am I here, and the more you serve, or as Gandhi used to say, the best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in the service of others. And I find that the more I've spent time in a space of service, the more I feel connected to myself, and the more I see myself in other people, which is a really, really crazy and powerful place to be. You don't feel as stressed out, you don't feel anxious, you don't feel so self-conscious. I think the word love is quite a fluffy word to use, but you actually feel a presence of love and peace in whatever you're doing when you can reach that level of connectedness. And the best way to reach that level of connectedness is to operate from a place of service. So there's another concept I'd like to share about giving versus receiving. When you are constantly requiring stuff in life, I don't have a big enough house, car, or I want this new clothing item, or when you want stuff, you're constantly in a space of receiving. And when you're receiving, you're actually subconsciously feeling incomplete. There's a gap inside you that you're trying to fill with this object from outside that you think is going to fill that gap. It could be, ultimately we're all searching happiness. But when you're actually coming from a space of giving, i.e. serving, giving presupposes that you're already complete. I can't give from a pot that is empty. I can only give when I have abundance. And as soon as you shift your thinking into a space of giving and service, and a really quick access to that is gratitude. Just thinking about what you're grateful for, what's good in your life, what's working for you. Suddenly your capacity to give will go through the roof, because you realize you actually have so much you can give. I think that's quite a powerful distinction. I'd like you guys to just think about giving versus receiving, and the fact that when you're giving, you're actually coming from a place of abundance, fullness. And when you're receiving, or when you're trying to get stuff, you're coming from a place of incomplete or empty or gaps. We actually, as individuals, can't do huge, great things. All we can do is small things with great love, is that famous quote. So I leave you with a parting message of just think about the small ways that you can serve the people around you, the communities, the work that you do, and keep on planting seeds, as Nemo would say.